John Singleton, the youngest director ever to be nominated for Best Director, the first African-American director to be nominated. Tell us about going to an audition for him. You, in your resume, it was theater and a lot of TV. He didn't have any bias against...
No, he didn't seem to at all, which was wonderful. I think Jackie Brown was the casting director, and I was just really happy that I was able to be brought in, because it seemed like you were getting sort of pigeonholed into, you do TV, you know, and you do TV drama. And here's film over here, television over here, and actors cannot crisscross between the two. It seemed to be the prevailing, you know, sentiment at the time. But he was 19, he was young. I remember going to Leimert Park, you know, down in the neighborhood, and sitting with him. And he was just wonderful. He was really kind. We talked about Langston Hughes, who was one of my favorite poets, and his as well. It was for the role that was loosely based on his mother. He told me he liked the way my mouth sort of curled in a growl. I was like, really? Oh, thank you.
Like when I was mentioning about August Wilson, his language, the way his characters, there's so many characters in this movie, but they're so well defined. It's so ahead of its time, this movie. When you read that script, when you were involved with it, were you aware of the strength of the script?
I don't think I was, really. It was a time when you were seeing a lot of movies that were, you know, took place in the neighborhood about young, you know, black boys coming into their own, and some were better than others, or not as good as others, but this was just a really fine one. And he had wonderful, I recall, a wonderful crew behind him. Stephanie Elaine was a producer on the film as well, and they were there, and they shepherded him and protected him, because he was new to it. It was a lot going on. It was a huge crew, a lot of moving parts. But when you have just someone that you can trust in, and they're going to guide you and make sure you come in on time and where you need to be, he could just concentrate on the story that he knew all so well.
And then you meet Larry Fishburne, and you will go on to work with him.
Well, I had met Larry maybe a couple years before, while I was going around the country in the old Globe Theater in San Diego doing Joe Turner's Come and Gone. I came to LA to audition for this movie that was going to happen called Dessa Rose. And so I got cast in that, and I actually ended up leaving Broadway, giving my 2-week notice, leaving Broadway to do a film, to play Dessa in Dessa Rose. It was like, yeah, this is great. This is how wonderful my life is. And Lawrence was cast in it, along with Cicely Tyson as the mother figure, and Natasha Richardson, and Donald Sutherland, Tony Todd. And it was wonderful. We were all in Irwin Winkler. It was to be his directorial debut. He had, you know, produced The Rocky and The Clockwork Orange and all this. So this was his debut. We were in Charleston, South Carolina. We were 48 hours before doing rehearsal. I'm like, Cicely Tyson, I can't sitting here and meet her with everyone else. Go outside the room. Hello, a pleasure to meet you. And then go in and let's get to rehearsal. All right. And 48 hours before, our director goes back to LA. He comes back and his arm's in a cast, and he had thrown it through a wall, and we lost all the money. You know, the studio, something had happened in LA. The studio fell apart, and it was just crazy, and it wasn't to be, and we had to go away. So I was on Broadway, and I left Broadway to star in this movie that fell apart. And it's like, oh, well, these disappointments happen, I guess, can happen. But I met him there. Film us, interrupt us.
And little did you know that you were going to co-star for many...
Again and again and again.
And again. You guys are a terrific pair.
Yeah.
So you got cast right after Boyz in the Hood by Spike Lee and Malcolm X. The first time that you play a real person, and you've made quite a
Was that the first time? Betty Shabazz?
in film, wasn't it, Betty Shabazz?
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet you know better than I do.
No, yeah, it was in film, yes.
Okay.
Betty Shabazz, yeah. And you will make a name for yourself playing real characters. What is your approach about tackling, what I've always, and I said, hinted at it in my introduction, is that you don't impersonate. You latch on to the spirit of the person. What is your approach about
I think I do try to do that. Miss Dr. Shabazz was still with us then, but it seemed important to me at the time because I heard a little something. You know, she's a woman of great deal of pride, and so I think she said it was something like, "I only slept in silk," you know, and I was like, well, they work for the Nation of Islam. And they weren't giving them much or anything. That was one of her key issues with him, that they didn't have life insurance. What about the children, you know, securing the future? So I thought, let me speak to Attila, the daughter, the eldest daughter. She will have remembrances or reflections on her mother that I think might be interesting or closer to a truth. You know, history is, we want to recall it for ourselves. Sometimes it gets very beautiful, you know. It wasn't so bad when it was terrible, you know. So I met her. I remember going to, of course, reading the autobiography, going to the grave, his burial site, and just standing there. I mean, I just opened myself for anything that would come to me, feelings, emotions, thoughts, humanity that would come to me.
So you channel all of that and then synthesize it and hope for the best? You mentioned the clothing. In Malcolm X, you met somebody who I feel is one of your greatest collaborators, Ruth E. Carter.
Yes, yes.
You know, tell us about working, you know, this first time with Ruth E. Carter, who you'll go on to work many, many times.
Yeah, we worked on about five films together so far, and she is as lovely now as she was then, as talented, just more and more experience. It was all right there, and I remember and it was a huge production as well. And to wear the head wrap, yeah, the head wrap, that time period, and her costume, she fits you. As soon as you put it on, you get a real sense of how your character holds herself and walks in the world, lives in the room. It's amazing that can be done in fabric and thread.
In the scene that we just saw, you're toe-to-toe with Denzel Washington.
Oh, you had to be. He would consume you with his fire.
So how was it?
Oh,
I mean, this is your second major film, and you're working with Spike Lee and Denzel Washington.
It could be terribly intimidating, honestly. I remember the audition. I had this long MalcolmX emblazoned T-shirt, and I would sleep in that, and somehow I found the script, and which you weren't supposed to have the script, only sides, but somehow I got it from somewhere, and I would put it under my mattress like someone's gonna break the door down and discover that I had the script, this illegal script, and I went to the audition, and you sign in, and you see the other actresses who have signed in. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And go into the room, and I had been, I think, stalking Spike Lee because I was in New York. He did She's Gotta Have It. I'm still in New York, and then he's doing his second film, but he goes to LA. Oh, I can't audition. Then I go to LA, and he doesn't want to audition people, and he goes back to New York. Finally, he comes back to LA for Malcolm X. Finally, I'm in the room. Finally. And Denzel is there, which is a treat. you know, you try to get cute and you put on a little lipstick. And I remember him in the scene taking his thumb and wiping the lipstick off of my face. And instead of being intimidated, I would just put my, like, do it, Malcolm. You want your lady without makeup, adornment, lipstick. All right, Malcolm. I would not shirt back, but, you know. And I guess that's the way to play with him, because we know he's very strong
and what I love,
powerful.
By the way, Malcolm X, that movie was ahead of his time as well. And what was amazing is that Spike Lee is not known for his romantic relationships in films. But the relationship between you and Malcolm is such a beautiful, nuanced romance marriage. Is that something that you guys developed? It was always on in the script?
Those certainly were the words in the script. It was certainly there. I think there may have been a little improving there on Denzel's part. You know, a lot of this, that back and forth, like kinetic energy, you know. Of course, it's not written like that. But there was opportunity, you know, you see a scene, an opportunity for that to happen. Yeah, I remember working with Spike. He sort of reminded me of that guy in class who pulled your pigtails and like and laughed uproariously. We were making this serious movie. Everyone was walking around. Hello, brother. Hello, my sister. Everyone was we were all Muslims. Sister Betty, Brother Malcolm, you know, cut, walking around for lunch. Brother Malcolm, yes. Thank you, Brother Dennis. Sister, may I get you? Everyone was so utterly respectful of other. I mean, we lived it. And, you know, we also had, members of the community help save that movie also. When it's like, there's no more money. I mean, members of the community stepped in and paid for this movie to be finished, which was amazing, astounding.
It's an amazing film. It's ahead of its time. Now we're going to look immediately after you were done with Malcolm X. You went on to the Jacksons' American Dream, the miniseries. We're going to watch a clip from that, and also you were cast as Tina Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It?
Everything.
Let's watch the great Angela Bassett in those scenes.